Hey friends, have you ever felt like you're doing everything, and yet you still feel like you're falling behind? If you were aiming for some freedom or some more purpose or impact in your life by creating a business or even choosing to be a homemaker, but somehow you've ended up being buried in to-do lists and those never-ending projects and exhaustion in isolation, then this episode is going to be an encouragement for you. Today's conversation is with PR and marketing expert Emily Reagan, and it's for the dreamers, the doers, the caregivers and homemakers, and business builders, and anyone who feels just stretched too thin and is wondering under their breath with exasperation, there's got to be another way. And my friends, yes, there is, and we're going to talk all about that today. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm here just to pour some positive back into your day with practical tips and stories to encourage and inspire. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and I have Emily Reagan with us today. And I don't know about you, but I in particular am one of those that always thinks I have to do everything myself. In fact, I'm just really bad at delegating in general. And by the time I figure out how to delegate, I figure, well, I just could have done that myself. Well, my guest today is someone who understands this problem so very well. She is a marketing expert. She's got all kinds of great ideas for women in business or men in business or anybody thinking about business. And she's also got a beautiful story herself about how she got into this line of business. So, Emily, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm very excited about the conversation we're going to have.
I just think what you're doing is so important and necessary. I just myself as a solo entrepreneur, I don't have time to do all the marketing things. And my time is so invested in other places that I don't want to spend it on the things that I'm less good at. So let's talk a little bit to start how your story intertwines with this topic and how you got into this business.
You know that meme where they are making fun of what it's like to become an entrepreneur and then you're like working 24/7? Like that's the vision I got when you were talking. Like we signed up thinking we're going to have all this freedom and then we end up just working in our business all the time and we can't shut it off. So hopefully we can help with that a little bit in this conversation. I have a fun past because I was a military spouse for 20 years and every year or two or three, if we were lucky, we moved. And so my job was always changing. It was always starting at the bottom, having to prove myself in a new community, a network that didn't know me, and then just be lucky to take any job I could get, just anything. And so I had this hodgepodge of a resume all over the place. I was so afraid I looked flaky, that I didn't look loyal. I even had a boss hire me and say he knew he could get me for cheap because he knew other people wouldn't see the value in my skill set because they're afraid to risk it on a military spouse. And, 92% of us are female, but we tend to be overeducated. We tend to be underemployed, and it's a problem. And sometimes the government wants to fix it during election year, and then sometimes they don't. And we suffer. We do suffer. And it's hard to give up your career to follow your spouse and support your spouse. And I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I got to see the world, but there's this part of you that's like, I want more. Like, I want to contribute. I want to make an impact. I want to have something outside my kids, outside the hamster wheel of doing my dishes, which is like never ending. And so I got pretty lucky in this online space because suddenly all of these skills that I had a degree in journalism, ended up doing marketing work, ended up working in a newspaper. Like really, I mean, I did PR. It was like a little bit of everything. And in the online space, it all came together. And it was really funny because I accidentally became a virtual assistant. And at the time, I didn't even know what VA meant. And we can talk about what that is. My clients kept calling me their VA. I'm like, does that mean veteran? Does that mean Virginia? And so I was just doing freelance work while raising my babies. And it was so great because I couldn't move with it. And so this just changed the world for me. It was life-giving because I had my work. I could still be home with my babies and be a mom first when I finally became a stay-at-home mom. I was able to bring in decent income. I actually doubled my salary, my last full-time salary, because I'd been stuck at that plateau, just starting over with little pay, no vacation, and then only to move again. And I watched my doctor friends build the big house, put it in the pool, and then I just felt like I was cycling. And it's not that I needed to prove myself, but there's just something about me that's always been ambitious and industrious. And at one point, I sold Mary Kay. And at one point, I had an Etsy shop. Like I wanted to do something, and my brain is lit up and I'm balanced when I have something. But I also love being the fun mom, right? So my story getting into the online space came through freelance work, then teaching my smart military mom friends how to do it. And then I ended up meeting you inside our little mastermind where we're online business owners trying to grow and scale.
Oh, that's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that kind of surfaces to me as you're telling your story, you were saying it's funny how people tell stories and then we immediately have these pictures in our head. And but when you're telling your story about the path that you took, it wasn't, first of all, they're never linear, right? It's all these things that are completely unrelated. And at some point we get an aha and we just put them together, right? But I think we have a tendency to look at people who are successful in business, the doctor or whoever it is, and they had this linear path and they just made a straight arrow to where they are. And I don't think anybody does that. Unless if you like, came out of the womb knowing you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. There are some rare cases where they just beelined it to that industry. Talk a little bit about how you bring in all your different skill sets to that kind of a role of being a virtual assistant, or how
Yeah.
you did in that season.
Well, I think we grew up with the messaging from the baby boomer generation telling us like you get in with a corporation and you stay there for 30 years and you earn your retirement and you invest in your 401k. And things are different now. They just really are. And so I was kind of like walking the cusp of this change here and knowing that being an entrepreneur was never something that I was taught or shown. It was never like my life goal, like, oh, I'm going to go start a business. It came more out of a love and a bleeding heart for helping people. And so what had happened was I was really good at writing. I could write a press release and get it published verbatim, especially in the smaller newspapers. And I had some business owners come to me and say, will you help me? And I didn't know what I was doing, Lisa. I was like, sure, for $75, I'll write you a press release. And like, I had that down. I knew how to do it. Always been a strength of mine. And so me just saying yes to people to help promote their business, to get the word out there, it just felt so good.
Mm.
It took quite a few years later for me to realize the worth of that work and what I should be charging. And that's kind of what I teach my people now. But it came from that. And then it came from business owners saying, well, could you help me with this next? And me just being brave and bold, not overly confident, but I knew I have the ability to figure it out and just saying yes and figuring it out. Now, back then when I'm starting, it was like 2009, we didn't have ChatGPT. No one was really doing Pinterest or Facebook. It was all really new. So I kind of got lucky with the timing of being at the cutting edge of that. So I just kept saying yes to different opportunities, knowing that deep down, like I could figure it out. I'm also a good writer. And then this is what people are actually needing. So what I found happening was there's a lot of people needing VA work. And right now that can be synonymous with low-level admin work. It could be calendar management. It could be some inbox management. And we're seeing more of those jobs farmed overseas for very low rates, which I think is ethically unfair. But at some point in our business, we need to be mindful of our costs and our expenses. And so I really didn't like my clients calling me their VA because I never did admin. I was always doing marketing. I was doing writing. I was doing graphic design. And it was really fun because I thought you just had to pick a lane and stay in it, right? Kind of like our parents did. Like my dad stayed 30 years in the Air Force, but I was able to be multi-talented, multi-passionate, and bring different skill sets. Like I do have a good left and right brain. I can look at analytics. I can have fun with creative design work, and I can put it together in a unique package and not feel guilty about it. And so that's kind of why I came up with that term unicorn in my business. It doesn't mean somebody does it all. It just means you're special, you're rare, you combine different skill sets in a unique way. And you can charge well for it when you do that. And when you own your power, when you know what you bring to the table. So I have done my whole freelance life, a lot of the marketing work when it comes to growing an email list, growing an audience, and then selling to that audience. So that could look like Pinterest very simply. Like I have a client who will get 30,000 clicks a month from her Pinterest. She's a creative entrepreneur, so that's like easy work for her. It could look like blogging and content strategy with social media, or it could look like very in-depth funnels, marketing campaigns, and launches. And so my business evolved slowly. It started with me charging $10 an hour, doing simple marketing tasks, and then working my way up to saying yes to different opportunities and honestly learning on the way because a lot of clients are drowning. They
Yeah.
just needed help and they wanted somebody they already trusted who was already in their business, who they already communicated well. And so I learned a lot on the job.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I keep taking notes here. I have so many things I want to ask you about. Because you have like two beautiful paths here. You have the path of your story about how you took all your different skills and experiences and things that you were able to offer to the marketplace and bring them to the marketplace. And just we didn't mention this yet. So for those listening and wondering where Unicorns comes in, that's the name of your course, right?
Yes.
The Unicorn Digital Marketing Assistant School, which is so cool. Like I love the unicorn piece of it in there. That's great. But you also have the second side about all the help that you give. So, like the clients that you work with, and that's the type of ways that you empower them to free up their time so they can actually do what they love to do. So, these just two beautiful avenues of your story. And, like I said in the very beginning when we were first introducing you, is like, we have to learn that there's help out there for all of us. And none of us were meant to do this life alone, whether it's just lifing with kids or whether it's lifing with your business, which is another baby in its own right. It's just, we're not meant to do it alone. And we can team up with people that we love working with that makes the process even more enjoyable. So let's talk a little bit about that. How do you work with your clients to help them relinquish the power and to work with somebody to try to help?
Yes. So I told you I'm in the marketing department. Like I don't do well with admin. I am not an operations person. Of course, owning my own business has taught me to be more systems and do SOPs, but it really comes down to the Pareto principle. And we see that in all types of industries and in our own life. 80% of our results come from 20% of our effort. And so in business, that looks like 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your offers, your launches, your private client work, your marketing, right? And so we have to figure out what is the 80% that we need to delegate? What do we need to get off our plate? What is stressing us out? Well, what is actually not worth our time? And we need to do that in life too, right? And we don't all have the money or the budget or the assistance. I was just thinking about how if I had grandparents who lived in town, I would have a little bit more help chauffeuring, but I'm not in the point in my life where I'm going to get a chauffeur to drive my kids around, right? So some things are, we're going to keep close, but it would be nice to free up my time as a single mom of four to have a housekeeper, to have those groceries delivered. Those are those little places where we can start to offload the 80% that don't matter so that we can, well, they matter, but they're not always the best use of our time so that we can be more present with our kids and do the quality things with them. So our job as CEOs, as business owners, is to figure out what is the 20% of the activities that are making money, that actually move the needle, and how to delegate those 80%. And so I specifically work in that marketing department, and marketing sucks up a lot of time. I was looking at some stats and I saw that most CEOs spend about 20 hours a week doing marketing. So not to mention all the calendar and all the clicking and the files. And I don't know, I spend way too much time in Asana sometimes, but still marketing can be pieced out to the 80-20 rule. And so that's the kind of work that I teach my marketing assistants to do, that I do in my freelance work, is how can I take that off the plate? And it's really cool because if you have a client who has a big mission and is helping a lot of people and you get to be the person behind the scenes, impacting more clients and participating and experiencing that ripple effect, it feels really good. I have a client who is a betrayal trauma coach. And that's something I've personally experienced, but I don't always talk about. But the fact that I could be behind the scenes running her ads, we had 12,000 people register for her virtual conference in January. And I just think that's the power. I don't have to be the face, sharing my story, but I can secretly help somebody impact women who I know who are hurting, who just need to find her, right? They just need to find her to get that help to be able to take that next step.
Mhm. Well, that's a really interesting point. First of all, I love that example you gave us. You really have to be aligned with the people you're working with, whether
Yeah.
that's you being an employee or you being a business owner employing somebody else. And when you
Yeah.
are, then you have that great, rewarding kind of satisfying experience where you can help propel the mission or whatever product it is you're selling because you really believe in it.
Yes. It's like this magical synergy that happens. Now, one of my friends was a content writer for one of her first gigs was podiatry and writing about foot problems. And that wasn't something she was passionate about. It gave her the experience. But that really is the essence of the unicorn is being able to combine your skill set with something you care about and something you love. And a lot of my early clients were designers and DIY furniture painters and bloggers. And that's not something I'm good at, but I liked being adjacent to it. And I liked helping through that. And I like the visuals of it. And one of my clients, yeah, she's teaching furniture painting in this very whimsical, playful, crazy style, but she's really helping women be bold and step outside their comfort zone and push themselves too. And so it just felt so good to be a part of it. So if your talent could combine with somebody's bigger mission and like something you're passionate about, like maybe right now for me, it might be pickleball, and then I could help a pickleball client. Like that's where the unicorn comes in.
Yes, that makes so much sense. I would like to pivot for a second then.
Okay.
This is all so exciting and so good, but I know when you're building a business, sometimes things get really, really hard. So I would love to know because I'm sure there's people out there who are either thinking about doing a business or there are a lot of people right now who are unemployed looking for work. So tell us about one of the hard points of that path for you, the journey, and how you kind of pivoted to get out of that stuck spot.
Oh, it's always marketing yourself. When you're the person behind the scenes, usually you didn't want to be the face of your business. I sure didn't. When I did journalism, I wanted to be the girl behind the camera. I think I was the only one who didn't want to do the weather. I wondered what was wrong with me. And for years, I went behind the scenes and I was helping my clients with their businesses and I loved it and I loved it. But I realized maybe there's a bigger mission. I actually avoided that little voice inside me. I think God's like, get ready, get ready. I'm like, no, no, no. It took me a whole year for me to actually take a move on this. I just remember looking at my clients thinking, I couldn't do that. I don't have their voice. I don't have their charisma. I don't have their message. What would I say? All of that fear. And we're all going through that at microscopic levels, whether you're a service provider just trying to put yourself out there to book a client, or whether you're a course creator or a podcast host. Like we have to get over those visibility blocks. And I did it super scared. I
Yeah.
put on play face mask, my very first Facebook Live, and I hid and I announced my business and I pretty much forced myself to go all in. And the reason that I did that was because my why was so critical. You're
Mm,
able to do things when you're scared because A, you can believe in yourself. You can look back at what you've done and borrow confidence from other moments. But your why will keep you moving forward when it gets hard, when you don't feel like being consistent. And for me, that was my kids,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Not to throw out trite quotes, but what that quote that goes, uh, courage is not the absence of fear, but the belief that something else is more important than the fear.
And that's really visibility. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, people are going to judge me. Those little YouTube 18-year-old boys, they make fun of my forehead all the time. But like, it's getting over that and realizing I have a greater mission. I have
Okay.
more people I can impact. And, when I do have a rough week, when it feels like I'm just like running through mud and I read a testimonial or I hear something good, I have one of my students just sent me an email yesterday saying she's about to sign an 8-figure entrepreneur to do her social media. And she just graduated from my course. And I am ecstatic. And we could never say who it is. And she won't even tell me. But I like hold on to those little wins and they keep fueling me and keep me going because it is rough. It is hard. It's hard to show up every day. It's hard to hit publish. It's hard to like look good and feel good and speak to your audience all the time.
Yeah. And I would, even if you're not a business person, even if you're not trying to build a business, if you're just looking for a job, you're marketing yourself. If you are
Yes.
just unemployed, looking for a job, and I think that is, by the way, probably the hardest job is looking for a job because
Yeah.
you're constantly getting no's and often getting completely ghosted where no one even gets back to you. So
Oh my
it's like
gosh. Yeah.
getting the confidence to put yourself out there one more time for one more no, uh, knowing that eventually you're going to get a yes. So this is such a great topic because it hits all of us, no matter where we're at in the world of business and work.
Yeah. And I think I had it really hard. I think military spouses do with the moving,
Sure.
because not only that, I mean, maybe it's a good thing if you get to walk away from your former work reputation, right? Like sometimes the clean start is fun. You can reinvent yourself, but it's really hard. That currency is trust, and people are referring their friends. And it's obvious when you're the new girl and you're not at the cool kids table yet and you're waiting for your invitation. And that's part of marketing is
Mhm.
putting yourself in the right networks, even though you feel like standing back by the wall.
Exactly, right? Oh, that's so true. Well, I was going to ask you about one of your lowest points, and I was going to ask you about one of your high points, but was this most recent client of yours that signed the eight-figure deal one of those, or do you have another
Oh
high
my
point?
gosh. You know what? I have a few, so you might have to cut me off, but I am so motivated to help women gain skills and make money when it comes down to it. No matter what our situations are, we just need to be prepared. And we can, I can talk about my story here in a little bit, but you never know what will happen, right? You never know. And you need to look out for yourself and especially to stay in this economy. And so the best thing I ever did was work a little bit while I had babies. And I wasn't working a lot of hours. So I dusted off my skills. I got a little bit of clients. I built my confidence so that I knew I could bridge that resume gap. But I took time off to raise my babies. One of my unicorns has a financially abusive, controlling husband. And what they do is not my problem. However, I just helped her sign a client for $4,000 a month. She was a hairstylist. She was a military spouse. So just starting over in that industry is hard because, again, it's about your network. PR is about your network. Hairstyling is about your network. So she is able to bring in her own money. And then she was able to skill stack on top of that with this client that I connected her with. And now she's making $6,500 a month because she added on Facebook ads. And it feels so good. No, she had to go through a couple crappy clients to get there. But like that is my ultimate win when I see someone else out there who's protected in the future. Granted, the client could leave, the economy could downturn, but she has a very in-demand skill set. She could go get a full-time job. She'll be able to pay for her baby's diapers.
Yeah, and for her retirement and all the things that happen, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's just such wise counsel, Emily. Just the it doesn't even have to be divorce. It doesn't even have to be a controlling husband, but none of us know how long we have in this world. And if a husband or a wife passes away from a sudden heart attack or
Yeah.
has a horrible, God forbid, accident or something, and you're left all of a sudden completely without income, that's
Yeah.
a that's a much more devastating place to be. I mean, the loss is devastating in its own right. But if you can always kind of be just stable to have different possibilities, so you're eliminating the risk of the financial side, at least you
Yeah.
have the possibilities there. I would say the same for kids who are wanting to go into college and major in music or something like that, you know, that doesn't have the as much of a profitability option to it, to just give yourself lots of possibilities. So when life shows up, as life always does, you're able to pivot.
Yeah. And what I'm seeing a lot with my students is, or they might be retiring, right? And they want some flexibility and some freedom there. But there's a lot of aging parents, and people are giving up their careers to go be with mom and dad, and they can't do the same full-time job. And so it's nice that you can almost accordion it, right? You could squeeze it down and do what you need to get by and have the flexibility through a side hustle. I don't love that word, but that's kind of what it is part-time freelance work. And that's beautiful because you're prioritizing your loved ones and their needs, and you can grow it bigger later when you need to.
Yeah. Bottom line for all of the things I think you're bringing to the table is just that we need to believe and understand just how much possibility is out there for us, that we're not stuck no matter what job you have, no matter what business you're trying to grow. You're never alone. You're never all by yourself. There's always help out there, and there's help for so many different parts of your business or parts of your life, from housekeeping to bookkeeping to getting somebody to help you with the marketing side of things. I love that.
Okay, when I was going through a very low time and kind of having my own little pity party, I read the book, The Obstacle is the Way. I think God put it in front of me. It's not like I was seeking out self-help books or whatever, but I read it and it really encourages you to look at any challenge you're going through and embrace it and see the silver lining. And I have that tendency to do that anyway. But I think about that with, being a military spouse and people not hiring me and feeling sad about that, or even, in the online space when I'm not quite in the right group and in the networking group. So I just want to encourage everyone that if you can see the obstacle clearly without all the emotion, it actually helps you make better decisions for yourself. You can turn any setback into a solution, just like I saw my past rocky, hopscotching resume turn into something super powerful where I can go out and charge decent money for some of these marketing projects now. So I just want to encourage everyone to just persevere and look at it positive.
Well, that's fantastic advice. Thank you. Because that keeps you optimistic, because that kind of encouragement just to keep us moving forward and find that silver lining.
Yeah. Maybe get some help too.
Yes. And some help. It's always good. It just makes it more fun too. I find that when you're working with someone that you enjoy, it just makes the whole process a lot more enjoyable. So
yeah.
Great. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being with us. I so appreciate your wisdom and all the things that you had to share with us.
All right. Thanks, Lisa.
Emily has such a great energy. I always just get energized just by talking with her. I've got 5 great takeaways for you today. Number 1, your nonlinear path is not any kind of a weakness. In fact, that nonlinear path can be your greatest asset. What looks like a scattered resume or a winding journey to you often becomes a unique, high-value skill stack when you just let those experiences all come together. Remember that success for anyone is never, hardly ever, linear. Number 2, you don't need to do everything. In fact, you really shouldn't. Using that Pareto principle of the 80-20 rule, we can easily see that creating a sustainable business and life are really built on identifying what are the things that only you can do, and then intentionally delegate the rest. That's going to free up your time so you can focus on the 20% that will actually really move the needle for you. Number 3, marketing is leverage, not just busy work. It does take a lot of time, but marketing is one of the highest impact activities that you can do in business. When done well or delegated wisely, it will free up your time so you can scale the impact that you can make and create more income stability. Number 4, visibility grows after that first courageous step, not before it. Confidence does not precede the action we take. In fact, clarity and confidence only come after you step out in obedience and take action. The fear is, normal. Everyone's going to feel that. But when you have clearly identified that strong and compelling why, like, why am I doing this? What is motivating me? What is the ultimate freedom or goal or outcome? Is it for my faith? Is it my family? Am I wanting to make an impact on children or moms or families, or making a big positive impact on the world? These compelling reasons for your doing what you're doing will keep you moving forward even through the doubts and the struggles. And number 5, financial skill building creates protection and peace no matter where you are on the journey. Whether you are a student, a parent, an adult going through some difficult life transitions, caregiving for another one, marriage changes, or just weathering the ups and downs of the economy, having an in-demand, flexible skill is going to give you the options that you want and that you need. And those options are going to help you reduce fear and give you long-term peace. Hey friends, before we close, I just want to share something really quick. There's a lot of things that we can choose to do in life. And if today's conversation kind of stirred a craving for you to have clarity and peace and just a break from it all, I want to just invite you to join me for a free conversation that I'm hosting this coming week. It's called The Fasting Way, and it's a way to grow in your relationship with the Lord, but also to find peace and clarity and the direction that you've been seeking as you walk through life. So I'm having that conversation in 3 different time slots: Wednesday, midday, Thursday morning, and Thursday evening. This will be a safe, grounded, easy, open space where we can just talk about what fasting looks like, what the benefits are, how to do this in real life with or without the pressure of restricting food, and to just strip away all that fear and the extremes that sometimes fasting can feel like. So if you'd like to join me for that conversation, I'd love to have you. The link to join the conversation is in the show notes, and you can sign up for one of those 3 time slots that will work best for you. So great. Until next time, you guys, thanks for being here. Stay encouraged, be inspired, and I'll see you next week right back here at the Sunshine Cafe.